Atlantis, a legend that sparked great controversy, a mysterious secret that the most powerful governments and authorities search for in complete secrecy. The story of an advanced civilization that was narrated by Plato hundreds of years ago in a strange way and reinforced by traces that still stand to this day. So that this question is the most prominent throughout the ages. Where is the lost city of Atlantis located, and does it really exist? A timeless legend in every sense of the word that is thousands of years old and will remain for hundreds more if three questions that have puzzled scientists throughout many ages are not answered. Is the city of Atlantis a reality or a fantasy of the philosopher Plato? If it is a reality, where is this lost city located? If it is a fantasy, why did many governments allocate huge sums of money to find it? How did Plato describe the city of Atlantis, and what is its full story? Well, Atlantis is a city called Paradise on Earth. It established its foundations on a continent that we do not know in the modern era, thousands of years ago. But according to the philosopher's description, it is located west of the Strait of Gibraltar in the Atlantic Ocean. The land of Atlantis is a fertile plain in a circular shape surrounded by alternating land and water. According to documents, its area is large to the extent that it equals the continents of Asia and Libya. Both societies are governed by a developed authority where intelligent people live and enjoy advanced techniques and technology, the likes of which history has never known. As was also said, the lost city of Atlantis was ruled by the Greek sea god Poseidon, who was keen to use the entirety of Atlantis to express his appreciation for his wife. So he built a large palace for her on one of the hills in the center of the city. The people of Atlantis lost their morals and principles and turned into a brutal military force that began attacking the rest of the countries, occupying North Africa and Europe until the people with pure morals, the residents of Athens, the Greek city, rose up to resist the aggression of the people of Atlantis and defeated him. As was also said, then the god Zeus became angry. Here the end of Atlantis began, but it does not clarify whether Zeus decided to destroy the city of Atlantis or not. It merely mentions that God's promised to teach Atlantis a violent lesson. According to other legends, it is said that the civilization of Atlantis, with all its treasures and relics, was completely destroyed as a result of a great flood. Moreover, some people link this flood to the flood of the prophet of God, Noah. Whether Atlantis is a reality or just a myth, we must ask an additional question. Why was its name associated with the pharaonic civilization, the Nazi government, and Hitler in particular? Despite the rumors that indicate that the lost city may be off the Spanish coast or in the undiscovered part of Antarctica, the treasures Atlantis is expected to be submerged off the Arab coast. Plato was the first to spark the myth of Atlantis in a story dating back to the year 360 BC, when he wrote a strange text that aroused the interest of scholars to this day. Let us talk a little about this text before addressing the circulating evidence about the reality of the existence of the lost city of Atlantis. Plato spoke about the city of Atlantis through a conversation that took place between two people, in which one of them spoke about his grandfather, who went on a trip to Egypt, where he was told that there was an Atlantic continent that ruled the world and provided unparalleled scientific development. According to legend, the Atlanteans who survived the flood spread around the world and taught other civilizations what? They have achieved advanced sciences related to electricity, transportation, and aviation. The most prominent of them, according to legend, are flying saucers and airplanes. And unless you believe it, this matter is documented among the discovered pharaonic antiquities that depict the progress of Atlantis and its technical development, which we will discuss in the course of the episode. And what you will learn about this point will shock you. It is unbelievable. So according to Plato, Atlantis lies behind the Pillars of Hercules, which is the name given to the Strait of Gibraltar, which connects the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. You wonder why they are called the Pillars of Hercules? Well, because according to ancient legend, these columns resulted from Hercules splitting a giant rock in that location. Those who believe in the existence of Atlantis believe that the strait is only a gateway to the city, and that the Azores and Canary Islands are the remains of this advanced civilization. In addition to Plato's story, there are several myths circulating about Atlantis, the most prominent of which are: Myth number 1. Atlantis was a continent, not just a city. It appeared in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and was subjected to a sudden sinking. Myth number 2. the disappearance of Atlantis in the Bermuda Triangle. Some supporters of the theory of the existence of Atlantis indicate that the city sank in the Bermuda Triangle. They supported their theory with traces of roads and walls in the ocean that were discovered. But according to scientists, these traces were made by nature, not by humans. The third myth, Atlantis is Antarctica. According to this myth, the Earth's crust witnessed a major transformation about 12,000 years ago, which resulted in changing the location of Antarctica, which was the land of the completely advanced Atlantis civilization. This transformation caused the Atlantis civilization to be buried under the ice. Myth number 4. Atlantis was invented by Plato. This myth indicates that Atlantis is nothing but an imaginary place imagined by the philosopher Plato. The myths are many and varied, some of which may be true or false, but what is certain is that it created a controversy that is the largest of its kind. If scientists are divided between supporters of the existence of Atlantis and opponents, then what is the evidence that scientists relied on to support the theory of the existence of Atlantis? The first evidence, antiquities discovered on the Spanish coast. The British-American mission believes that remains of the city of Atlantis were discovered when satellite images were taken of southern Spain. The antiquities discovered in the form of rings are very similar to the description that Plato attributed to the city of Atlantis in his writings. The second piece of evidence, what excited scientists about the imminent discovery of Atlantis was the discovery of a great wall, 120 kilometers long, deep in the Atlantic Ocean, which is said to go back to the great civilization of Atlantis. The third evidence, the strongest evidence is that scientists have found a city in the form of stone pyramids that has been submerged for 50,000 years in the Bermuda Triangle region in the Atlantic Ocean. Scientists believe that the remains of the ruins of the lost city belong to Atlantis. What reinforces this theory is the proximity of these ruins to the Strait of Gibraltar, which is the place described by Plato in his book. The fourth evidence, which is strikingly related to the Arab region. Researchers found evidence confirming the existence of the continent of Atlantis between Cyprus and Syria by discovering traces of human settlements under the sea at a depth of 1.5 kilometers and 80 kilometers away on the southeastern coast of Cyprus. They believe that Cyprus is the part of Atlantis that is still visible. Do you think that Atlantis is before our eyes? Nobody knows. This is not all. There are 2 more pieces of evidence, and these pieces of evidence will leave you in absolute shock. The first evidence, it is the discovery in the possessions of one of the Ottoman sultans of ancient documents and maps that the famous traveler Christopher Columbus relied on to explore the world. On these maps, there is one island that does not exist on modern maps. Is it possible that this island is Atlantis? Maybe. The second exciting piece of evidence is the strange inscriptions found among the relics of the pharaonic civilization. Let's delve more into this idea given the many questions about it. Scientists who support the Atlantis theory believe that there is a strong relationship between Atlantis and the pharaonic civilization. According to them, the survivors of the flood went to Egypt and transferred to them their advanced knowledge, which was documented by the strange and mysterious drawings found in the Abydos temple, which show a helicopter, a submarine, and a flying saucer. Skeptics say that these shapes are the result of re-engraving the letters, and that during the following years, words were engraved on top of the old inscriptions, praising and honoring Pharaoh Ramesses II, and over time, some parts of the gypsum broke, so the writings took on these shapes. But the supporters of the Atlantis theory had another completely opposing opinion. According to them, the ancient Egyptians were skilled craftsmen, and if they wanted to write a new text, they would remove the old one first, or they would write it down on empty patches and spots. Here one question must be asked. Regardless of the truth of this matter, it is possible to find a single drawing in the pharaonic civilization similar to the advanced technology that we are witnessing now. But to find 3 drawings, is this really just a coincidence? Think about it, there's a picture of a submarine, a flying saucer, and a helicopter. This is not all. There is another strange discovery related to the pharaonic civilization, and it may be linked to Atlantis, which is the secret room located under the Sphinx. It is also said that it hides a scientific treasure in knowledge documents about the first era of the Earth. You wonder what confirms the existence of this secret room. Well, there is one scientist named Bill Brown who devoted his life to finding this treasure buried under the Sphinx. What is interesting is that he found an empty hole underneath the statue using radar images. What is strange is that the scientist was unable to obtain permission to dig to discover this hole, or whether it contains traces of the Atlanteans or not. Atlantis not only captured scientists, but also captured the most powerful and important governments in history, the most prominent of which was the Nazi government, which Hitler personally asked to find the lost Atlantis. What is interesting is that Hitler believes that there are undiscovered lands that are said to be behind the South Pole. Here we must address an interesting point, which is the discoveries of Richard Byrd, who sought to pull down the curtain on the secrets of the barren frozen continent of Antarctica. On one of his trips over the South Pole, the first thing he said was that there were vast lands beyond the South Pole. What do you think? Is this statement just an expectation or a preparation to announce a truth we do not know? So we have presented the evidence to you, the facts you now know, and the full story is in your hands. What do you think? Is the city of Atlantis a myth or a mysterious reality whose mystery we will never be able to decipher? What we said is what is known about Atlantis and what is hidden is greater. Do not forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel.